More than just a book club. Richard and Judy, exclusive to WHSmith.
Joanna Rossiter introduces us to Alice and Violet in The Sea Change, daughter and mother separated by more than distance.
So Violet, I had in my mind a character who is so attached to her home and something that was taken so suddenly from her that she's unable to move on with her life.
Joanna Rossiter's The Sea Change.
Stay with us and meet all three ladies right here on the Richard and Judy Book Club download.
So, who is author Joanna Rossiter? Let's meet her.
I would describe my book in a few words as out of the ruins. It is there before we know about it. Being born, a Persian rug unrolling, our wave heavy like death. Well, I decided to write The Sea Change after visiting Imber back in 2011. I went to watch the army train in the village. So it was about 5 o'clock in the morning, extremely misty, foggy morning, and I went into the village with a military escort and was taken into the ruins of the old schoolhouse. And the soldiers were all hidden around Salisbury Plain waiting to ambush the village. And the village suddenly transformed from being this very tranquil English idyll to suddenly being full of rifle fire and smoke grenades, and I started to think about what would this feel like if this was your home and you were watching it being used in this way, and would you feel like your sacrifice was worthwhile, or would you have held on to your home more tightly? So that's really where the novel began, and then slowly out of that narrative I started to explore natural disaster as well as war and think about the tsunami element of the story. Stone, bone, think hard and then harder, that's how it hits the shore. It takes the beach in one breathtaking gulp, palm trees dominoing down and fishing boats scattering as easily as the seeds of a dandelion. Streets fuse into the flesh of the water like new limbs, new skin, until it morphs into a moving city. Trucks and tuk-tuks roll over and over like shirts in a washer, houses are picked up whole. Then, with sea-soaked hands, the water sets itself alight. Flames, blinding and orange, buoy themselves forward on black, mirrorless liquid. One man runs, and is outrun. I did actually spend 6 months in Tamil Nadu, which is the southernmost state in India, and I visited some of the regions that were affected by the Boxing Day tsunami, and so I was able to sort of bring to mind some of those images that I'd had in my own travels, but I think a lot of it really was just reading about some of the direct experiences of survivors of the tsunami and realising what it must feel like to suddenly have your entire community and home obliterated overnight, and you know, because I can visit those places, but at the end of the day I'm always going to have to take that imaginative leap to understand what it's like for your home to be destroyed in that way. So
Wonderful book, really clever theme and beautiful writing, and it was a shoe-in to our list, so congratulations straight away.
Thank you.
It's about two catastrophes separated by time. Very different catastrophes, but human catastrophes nonetheless. Well, one's a human catastrophe in the sense that it's caused by humanity, the other's a natural one and its effect on humans. Let me summarise. One is about a village, a real village in wartime Wiltshire, which was requisitioned by the army. We'll come to that. And which effectively destroyed the community. And the other is a tsunami, which affects one of the descendants of that community. What made you decide to kind of put those two polar points in your story? A village facing wartime catastrophe, a young woman on honeymoon facing a catastrophe of a huge tsunami, not the Boxing Day tsunami, an earlier one. What made that occur to you?
I'm really interested in ruined places and ruined landscapes, and I liked the idea of war and natural disaster and exploring the similarities between the two, and in particular these two landscapes, one that's frozen in time and decaying very slowly, but yet somehow surviving under all the pressures of war and nature, and another that's obliterated almost overnight. And really my two characters emerged out of those landscapes.
That's a very interesting answer.
And they're mother and daughter, and as a result of their various experiences, they are estranged. And the daughter is in India, and the mother Violet is back in England.
Yes.
Tell us about Imber. It was Violet who was growing up in Imber when the village was taken over by the military. Tell us about what happened there.
Well, she wakes up on a cold December morning in 1943 to be told that she has to leave her home along with the other villagers to make way for the military who are going to use the village as part of their training in the run-up to D-Day.
And this actually happened, this is a true
story.
Yeah,
Violet is a fictional character, but the villagers genuinely had to leave with about 2 or 3 weeks' notice. And so they had to pack up their homes. Some of them even left cans of tin pears in their larder because they were so convinced they would be coming home again.
Well, they were told that they were going to come home
They were
again.
given a verbal pledge that they would be allowed back after the war.
There's a beautiful passage which I assume is based on reality, of a note that the vicar's wife, was it the vicar's wife left on the church door? This is actually a note that was stolen from another ruined village where they did actually leave a note on the door. Called Tyneham.
Yeah. That's right, I've read about that, yeah. Can I read it?
Yes, so these words were actually written?
Yeah, it's with a little poetic licence,
okay. We've given up our valley where many of us have lived for generations, and trusting it to you, that's the army, for the sake of the war. Please take good care of the church in our absence. To us, it is more than stone and glass. We shall return one day, and thank you for treating the village kindly. And you want to weep because, of course, they don't treat the village kindly at all, and we know that they're never going to be allowed back.
Yeah.
Oh, where did they all go?
They went to the surrounding towns mainly.
Right.
So there's a town called Wilton just outside Salisbury, and a lot of them went to Warminster and Devizes.
And they didn't go cheerfully, but they went, and this is, I suppose, a comment on the spirit of the war at the time, they went patriotically, didn't they?
Absolutely. It was completely anonymous, the evacuation. It was reported in the newspapers, but the name of the village was kept a secret. And the villagers very much saw it as their patriotic duty to give up their homes.
And what does it look like now? I mean, it is open to the public very occasionally.
Very rarely, yes.
Yeah. What sort of state is it in? Is it creepy?
It is a very eerie place. The military actively use it. I actually went to watch the military train there back in 2011.
They still train
Yes,
there?
And so
I saw us be playing.
When I was there, I was standing in the ruins of the old schoolhouse and watching a soldier next to me firing a gun out of the window. And it's just very hands-on, the way that they use it.
It's training, Judy.
Why train in a village which once housed... I can understand the wartime sort of crisis.
I suppose the answer is once the army's got hold of it, they're not going to let go of it, are they? It's an asset to them. Well, let's then move forward in time to, is it 1971 that the tsunami?
Yes,
That's right. You write fantastically well about that. You say, as this huge wave comes in, and of course we all have the visual images in our head now from the Boxing Day tsunami, the much later one. You say, a Persian rug unrolling, our wave heavy like death. Up, up, a voice shouts from outside the guest house, and it doesn't belong to James, that's the husband. It's coming. Extraordinary. Did you base much of the writing on the footage that you'd seen and the accounts of the Boxing Day tsunami?
Yeah, I did actually, and also subsequently the Japanese tsunami.
Of course, yeah.
One of the stories at the beginning of the book is about a man who becomes stranded on the roof of his house, and he's clinging onto this roof because it's the last remnant that he has of his home, which again is an echo of Imber. And that was taken from an anecdote that I read about the Japanese tsunami, about a real man who was stranded on the roof of his house out at sea for days on end.
Yeah.
How without giving too much away, how in the story does the estrangement of mother and daughter, why is that relevant? How did that become part of these two polar opposites?
Well, as I said, the characters very much emerged out of the landscapes that I was writing about. So Violet, I had in my mind a character who is so attached to her home and something that was taken so suddenly from her that she's unable to move on with her life because she's got this really strong attachment to this place. It's almost like a grief for a person in some ways. And then in contrast, in this kind of post-tsunami, very fragmented landscape, you have a character, Alice, her daughter, who has got a very watery sense of home and not really any sense of roots or belonging. And quite a troubled relationship with her mother.
And which is sort of this sense of belonging has encouraged her to travel.
Yes, exactly.
And she meets and marries a guy whom she basically hardly knows. And that sort of sense of impermanence and no roots.
Absolutely.
Whereas the mother has the roots but can't get back to them. So the ending, you get the feeling that Violet is going to, they're sort of going to reach towards each other again, and from both their tragedies, there'll be something good coming out of it?
Yeah, I think I hint at a reconciliation in the end. I think there's still a sense that the tragedies, whilst there are similarities between them, are in different eras, and there's a sense that mother and daughter can never quite really get their heads around what the other one has gone through. But I definitely hope that they reconcile at the end of the book.
Moving on to your next one, which all novelists are very kind of coy about until they finished it, but one assumes you're in the middle of doing something. I mean, are we staying with this theme of phoenix-like rising from the ashes and the ruins? Are you still obsessed with this idea of ruined landscapes?
Absolutely, landscape is a huge part of my writing, and I really hope that's something that I'll continue to write about in the future.
You're a very, it sounds a tautology really, but you're a very literary writer, aren't you? A very literary writer. I mean, you think quite deeply about the way your story's put together. It's not just sort of slung off. You think very well. You know what I mean. You think very carefully before you commit.
Yeah, I think the relationship between setting and character in particular is always of huge interest to me, and what connects certain people to certain places. And again, this question of, can you grieve a place in the same way that you might grieve a person?
Can I ask how old you are? Is that too rude?
I'm 26.
26. Gosh, you write with such maturity. Did you always know you were going to write?
I've always wanted to write. I didn't actually think it would happen. It's probably like telling your parents you're going to be a footballer or something. They hope you'll grasp it.
And did you find it hard or relatively easy once you got going?
I wrote this actually in 6 months. I think you'll probably know from writing yourself, Judy, that if you find the right story, you just have to get it down on paper. And I definitely felt that way with this book, that it was just a story that I had to make more widely known, because particularly the story about Imber is not known about outside of the community of Wiltshire. So,
in my case it took 6 years, but still. 6 months, great. I mean, I envy you. So we look forward to the next one.
But this one, The Sea Change, is a minor classic. It really is. And many, many congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Joanna.
For me, the heart of this book was the village of Imber. This ghost village of Imber, which really exists. You know, it's
in Wiltshire.
It's out there right now. We couldn't go and see it because it's on an army range, but they do just occasionally, once a year, sometimes once every 2 years, they open it up to the public. And apparently it is an extraordinary experience to wander around these totally deserted village streets, the shattered houses. Some of the houses still have tins of food on the shelf that were left. There are scrawled notes that were left in 1943 for the soldiers. You know, you'll find the soap under the sink. You know, it's all still there, frozen in time, and yet shattered. You know, almost like something from Doctor Who.
And what Joanna Rossiter does is, as she told us in the interview, she's fascinated by landscape and ruined landscapes and what it can do to the human soul, the human psyche. Yeah. So the mother in this book, Violet, who was brought up in Imber, when all the villagers were forced to leave during the war by the military who wanted to take the village over, she never recovered. No. It ruined her life. Meanwhile, her daughter, who's grown up, and they have a very, very distant relationship, daughter has the impermanence of not having a permanent home. She's inherited her mother's lack of roots, if you like, and so she goes back backpacking, and in India, there is this terrible tsunami.
Not the Boxing Day tsunami, although the author did say that she drew a lot of her sort of metaphors and direct descriptions in what she writes about the tsunami in the book from that. But it's, again, that's beautifully and very powerfully written. She talks about it sort of rippling up like a rolling Persian rug as the sea comes towards them. Yes, and there's another shattered landscape and some kind of attempt to make some kind of order out of it. It's a very clever book, isn't it?
Yeah, very clever and beautifully written. And another first-time author.
Absolutely. 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 of the books on this summer list are by debut novelists. We're very proud about that and extremely happy and pleased for them. Anyway, those are our thoughts, but what are yours?
I would recommend the book by Rachel Joyce, The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry. It's about a man that receives a little note, and on the back of receiving a note decides to make a pilgrimage on foot from Devon to Berwick-upon-Tweed, and what he encounters, and he relives his life as he does it. It was recommended by my sister, and already I'm thinking I can't wait to get to the end because I think it's going to be incredible.
Tell us what titles you've enjoyed on the Richard and Judy Book Club. Find us on Facebook /Richard and Judy Book Club, or tweet us at WHSmith Co UK.
So if you want any of our previous recommendations, then do check out the website where you can also watch videos with the authors. That's
whsmith.co.uk/Richard and Judy.
Next time?
But what if there isn't a next time?
What on earth do you mean?
Yes, meaning. What do I mean? I mean life, the universe, everything.
Richard?
Don't worry about me. I may have been carried away by the next title on our list, because it's got me thinking.
Now, sometimes, Richard, you just think far too much.
Enjoying the Summer Book Club collection? Tell us about your great reads and join the debate on Facebook/Richard and Judy Book Club or on Twitter at WHSmith Co UK.